This past, like, 6 weeks, these past 6 weeks, I've read 35 books. These are the physical ones that I've read. These aren't the only physical ones I've read, but the other physical ones I sold because that's what I do when I don't like them. So these are the ones that I loved, the physical books that I loved. I'm going to go through every book that I read in the past 6 weeks briefly as possible and tell you what I thought about them. So the first one was Dilla by Grant Gosh. This was decent. It doesn't have very good reviews, but I didn't understand why. It wasn't bad by any means. I just think maybe it was a particular kind of taste. But I didn't have any issues with it. This was an ebook, and the majority of these are ebooks because I'm trying to get to every book that I've been given to on time when they have expiration dates, because they stress me the fuck out, and I'm on a roll. If you can't tell with 35 books, I'm on a roll, so I'm getting there. But this was an ebook. It was okay. Then I read Shattered Veil by Elijah Modiste, which is the third book in a series. I've read every single book. They're all so meh. I don't know how else to put it. Like, the story, like, this one was the best in the series, but all of them were just so, they're basically supposed to be kind of like dark romance, in the sense of like there's danger and there are like dark plot lines, but it's like, because it doesn't go to the extreme of like full-on mafia plot line, it's so half and half, where it's like wholesome romance, dark plot, and it just doesn't mesh together well for me. So this was the best book in the series, but it was like 800 pages long as well, and I was just like, too much, it's too much. So it was okay. Lights Out by Jenny Fletcher was a letdown. It was so meh. The guy in it, the MMC, was so toxic. I just fucking hated it. Then we go into my, I have an affinity for short books, especially translated fic. And this is where we get into the good shit. The Flowers of Buffoonery by 𝙂𝙧𝙧𝙖, and I really like this. I also then read straight away after that Schoolgirl by the same author, and I also really liked that. I think the thing about Osamu is, I think I read No Longer Human last year, and I didn't like it, and it's his like most famous translated fic, and I'm like, these are so much better though, so I don't understand. But anyways, those were really good. I think both of them were like 4 stars for me. Then I read Evocation. Oh, actually I still have Evocation somewhere. These were just in my recent pile, but I did keep Evocation, not just because it was signed and I've met St. Gibson, but it's not here, is it? Oh, it is. We're gonna ignore me being ignorant. So yes, Evocation. Can I be honest? I didn't have high expectations. Here's why. Because I really dislike a polytrope. I hate a triangle. I hate anything that's like non-monogamous, even with intent of like poly relationships. It's just not for me, in both real life and in my books. But I'm a fool for anything witchy, so I love this. And then I've heard mixed things, like some people really like it, some people don't, so I was like not sure what to expect. But when I read it, I was like, this is good. I think it felt a little bit like a setup book, because I know that she's released other ones or is releasing other ones in the series of that book, and it felt like a setup, but I liked it. I think the characters were kind of perfect for the trope that she was writing with, and it was also believable, which I think just doesn't happen with a lot of that trope, from what I've read at least. But most importantly, like for me, the world building of the fantasy were not complicated, but they were also present, which we'll come into it later, because there's other books that don't do this with fantasy that I've read so far this year, and it's so annoying. So I think like this was believable. It was like a believable fantasy fiction of like, this is this small world of real life and witchy people, and this is the witchy people's side of life, kind of, to put it very simply. I think I gave it 4 stars. It was good. I enjoyed it. She also writes well, so you know, that's a bonus as always. Then I read, as you can see at the bottom here, Yellowface. Again, didn't have high expectations at all. That was because anything that Book Talk hypes up, I disagree. I disagree. But I was pleasantly surprised. I actually gave this 5 stars, but it's not like a 5 stars of like, this is a literary masterpiece. It was more of 5 stars of like, I actually really enjoyed this. It was written really well. I saw this post that I wanted to like think about more deeply, which was specifically about Yellowface and R.F. Kuang, and I haven't read anything else by R.F. Kuang, but I do have Babel, which I need to get to, and I've wanted to read more of R.F. Kuang because she's such a hyped author, and I've seen her do talks, and she's always so interesting in her talk, so I was really intrigued anyway to read her stuff. But I saw a post where it was basically saying that R.F. Kuang's writing would reach its full potential. I think Jack Edwards said this, so you know, whatever, but if she stopped assuming that her readers were dumb. That's paraphrased, and I kind of get it. I kind of agree. I can't say that for like 100% certain because this is the only book I've read, but I know that that was about Yellowface. But the thing is like, even though Yellowface was very predictable, like I kind of knew what was gonna happen next, her ability to write a very strong POV from a character's perspective was what takes you away in this book. It's not necessarily the plot, it's the fact that you are with this character and you believe this character, and this character, especially in Yellowface, is a villain, yet you're forced to not even sympathize but empathize, because you know everything about them and not everything about everyone else. And so that was what was interesting for me. And I think for Yellowface in particular, I feel like it could, like the premise of the story could have been written by most people, like in the sense of it's not an intellectual kind of plot, it's not a very it's not a unique plot, it's not a new plot, it's not what's the word that I'm looking for, it's not a complex plot. And I don't know if that's just because I'm literally obsessed with like mystery shows, murder shows, the whole lot. Like I've seen, read everything you could think of plot wise, so for me it's like not a new concept, but I think she executed it very well. I think that was what separated her from everyone else. I went back to my short books and I read Hellscream by Ryunosuke Akutagawa, and I really liked this one. I actually think I gave this a 5 stars as well. Yeah, that one I love. There are some books that kind of just remind me of like those fables where I'm Greek, so like we grew up on like fables and myths and shit, and when I'm reminded of that, it just makes me like warm, even though the stories are so dark usually. But it was really well written, and so yeah, I really liked it. I then read The Lover by Marguerite Duras and I didn't like it, which is so disappointing because the cover is just absolutely stunning and everyone seems to love it, so I didn't like it that much at all. Then I read I Used to Have a Plan But Life Had Other Ideas by Alessandra Olenau, and it's such a meh book. I think that's the definition of a meh book. Holiday Wedding by Melissa Diamond, also so meh. You know, like when it's not awful but it's not great by any means, so you're just kind of like, okay, whatever. Then I read, this was an ebook as well, Slow Living by Stephanie O'Dear, and I really like this one. This was really good. I appreciated this more than most kind of self-improvement books that I read or get sent, because they're usually full of crap. But then I read The Law of Attraction by Laura Carter, which sounds like it's about the law of attraction, but it's not. It's a romance, and I love that. I literally, I picked this up on Black Friday. Waterstones were doing like a half price sale or something, and this was like £4, and I've never heard of it, never seen it anywhere, not even in Waterstones, you know, literally just picked it up because it looked good. I really liked this one. I don't know why, but like it was really like strong for me. I think because I don't know, I loved the concept of like, it felt, this is what it is, it felt quite actually this I read last year, I don't know why this is here, but anyways, ignore that. It felt quite rom-com-y, like early 2000s rom-com. That was the vibe that book gave, and I think it's really hard to encapsulate that in a book in general, but this kind of succeeded with it. It was a romance. It's not gonna be a literature masterpiece, but for a romance I absolutely loved it. I think the writing was good. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Then I read 7 Days in Tokyo by Jose Daniel Alvear, and this was an ebook as well. Here's the thing, it's like I actually liked it, but I felt like I've read something extremely similar, and if not in plot then in writing style, to the point where I can't tell the difference between the writings, who's writing it, if you like showed it to me. And I don't just mean like with one person, I mean several people now are writing this way, and it's so boring. Like that writing style for me is just very boring, but the plot itself, it doesn't mean it's bad, because the plot itself was good and I enjoyed it. I just didn't like, for me it's very hard to love a book if I'm not like super attached to the story, to the characters, to everything, and with this I just wasn't attached, but it was still good. I don't think this will be for everyone, but for those who like contemplate, this will be for you. I think you'll like it. Finally got round to reading Tits Up by Sarah Thornton, and I had such high hopes for this, and I was let down. I did not like this at all, really, which is a shame because I think the premise is just brilliant. It's about boobs, literally, that's literally what it's about boobs. What sex workers, milk bankers, plastic surgeons, bra designers and witches tell us about breasts. And the whole thing was like Sarah Thornton, the author, kind of interviewing people, talking about the active presence of boobs in their life. And that concept for me is so good, and it kind of read like a documentary, which if you know me, you know I love my documentaries. So like, it wasn't that it was written bad, I just think there was almost like a disconnect of like, this is such an important topic of conversation, of like boobs and like feminism and the role that breasts play in this, in our world, in our lives. And you know, you read the title, Tits Up, What Sex Workers, Milk Bankers, Plastic Surgeons, Bra Designers and Witches Tell Us About Breasts, and you're like, great, like just kind of covering all facets. And then you read it and it's just like not covering anything important at all. It's like she spoke to sex workers, which, yeah, you know, tick that box of like you're speaking to people that it matters to. And then she speaks to plastic surgeons, and they're so first of all, a lot of them are men. Second of all, they're so fucking blasé about women. Even the women surgeons are blasé about women, that it's just kind of like disgusting. You're just like, Lord have mercy, these people get paid thousands and thousands and thousands a day for each surgery or whatever, and for what? They hate you. And the thing is it wasn't like, the angle wasn't like to show you that this is how they think and this is how they feel. It was like written in a way of like, I don't know how to put it, like almost this is how we should feel. And I was just like, no, why are we talking to men about boobs? Stop it, just stop. I just hate it. I don't want to know what men think about boobs. I don't care what plastic surgeons think about boobs. I don't want to know, I don't agree with any of you, and I just hate it. Just hated it. And then also like bra designers, it makes so much sense why you would talk to them, right, for this kind of book. But then also, it's like I say about heels, made by men to torture women. Okay, it's just like, it's almost anti-feminist, which is not the point, but it did come across that way. And then like the other ones were so random. Witches. What, for me, what would make sense with this book and this concept is like, obviously she speaks to milk bankers, but I would just speak to mothers. And then also I would speak to, what's the word? I can't, it's not vasectomy, it's the other one, where they get their breasts surgically removed. Breast cancer patients, just things like that. Or like trans women and their experience with breasts. Not just sex workers, because that's like, it's like these are so specific but wrong. Like the angle is wrong, and not because sex workers or milk bankers or anything is wrong, but because boobs matter so much. And I agree with that, but it's like we've asked or spoken to random people about it instead of like mothers or trans women or cancer patients. And it just feels like if that was done, it would be a much better book, and it wasn't. So I was so disappointed with that, unfortunately. Then I read another shit book. I say this like, the majority of books I read I actually really like, I promise. I read A Year of Flowers by Suzanne Woods Fisher. It was just crap, and I hate it. Listen to me, I hate it. I hate when books are all about Christianity and then they don't have that anywhere. It's not mentioned. Because everyone was a God-loving fiend in this fucking book, and I was like, I'm actually gonna, I've never DNF'd a book in my life. This will be the first fucking one. Luckily it was short and I fucking got through it, but Jesus Christ, Lord have mercy. No irony intended, but seriously, I hate Bible thumping books so much. It was just bad. It was bad in general, but it was bad because of that as well. Then I read the book of 𝙃𝙯𝙧𝙖, I think I'm saying that wrong by the way, The Art of Making the Most of Every Moment the Japanese Way by 𝙃𝙯𝙧𝙖, and that was really good. I love books like this, and I actually feel like I learned from it, which is something I love about reading books like that. Then I read 𝙃𝙯𝙧𝙖, which I've spoken about this book before. This was like a random pickup in a charity shop that I got. I didn't know what to expect from it. It's also an uncorrected proof copy in the charity shop, so it's old as shit. It's like 2014. It's like over 10 years old, I think. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, because the entire point is like, it's a blogger who is anonymous but has like loads of followers. It's real life. Her account still exists and she's still active, but loads of people ask her questions, and she's like supposed to be like a raging older bitch who's like giving aunt advice almost. Some points she was really angry, and I was just like, God, being this angry all the time must be really exhausting. And then other points I was like, yes, like I agree with this so much, and like also sometimes you do have to be like that. That's how it felt. Then I've read, honestly, the worst book I've read so far this year, Deadlines and Valentines by Heather Weidner, and what the fuck this was, I couldn't tell you. It was awful, which is such a shame because the cover is gorgeous. Deadlines and Valentines, the book is a murder mystery which has nothing to do with deadlines or Valentines, okay? Nothing. Literally nothing. I think both things are mentioned once in this book. Awful. Then I read One Night Standard by E.F. Dodd, and actually I was surprised by this because I hate the cover of this book, but I really liked this. It was a unique concept. It was the perfect level of cringe and smart and wholesomeness. I think it was just a good romance that I just enjoyed reading. Then I read The Nervous System Reset by Jessica Maguire. I loved this so much. I have PTSD, so reading, and like January was the biggest fucking flare up possible for my PTSD. Well, I know I'm saying that and then, you know, fucking bollocks, but anyways, this helped me through it, genuinely. I just love books that genuinely cover everything and like don't take a biased POV, because like it's non-fiction, so you're not supposed to have a biased POV. Like when it's down to science and you're talking about other people and their livelihoods, I think it's so important to come with your facts but also your comfort, and I just feel like that was executed perfectly. If you have PTSD, I highly recommend it. I then read The Joy Document by Jennifer McGaha, and I loved this. I love this. It was so good. The concept is that you kind of like write down, so Jennifer like wrote down these short moments throughout her life that brought her joy to this day, even if it was like decades and decades ago. And it's it's about Jennifer, but the concept just bleeds through and it's just so beautiful. And like I've thought about doing things like that before, and it was really nice to see someone actually do it, and then like it's beautiful to read that. It's almost like going through someone's journal, but like an artsy journal with like pictures, but like the pictures tell stories. I don't know how to explain it. I give up. It took me a month, but I did finish the audiobook of The Good Girl's Guide to Great Sex. I'm gonna kill myself because this was another fucking book that was all about fucking religion and didn't have it anywhere in the text. Now before you come at me, because it has a, you know when they have like a line after the title and it says like something else, This one says, creating a marriage that's both holy and hot. First of all, I couldn't see that on the audiobook, so didn't know that that was in the title or part of it, okay? Second of all, you could even take holy as like, she says good girl, and it's like good girl is like a kinky thing, so no, whole book's about being a Bible thumping fucker lover, and it's just like the shit that the thing is, it's like I love the concept that there are women who are heavily religious that are breaking the stereotypes of being a religious woman, but somehow still it enforced the sexist rubbish because it was good. And then she said shit like, if you've sinned and had sex before marriage, it's okay. But she uses the word sin and shit, and it's like, I just hate, I can't, I'm so anti-religion, I really am. And then she was like, if your husband loves hunting extinct wild animals, join him, it will be sexy for both of you. Peng, peng. Have you watched Base Me on Peng? Because seriously, oh, hated it. It's a good book, that's the thing. I rated it 4 stars because it was like, the concept of it is a good idea, but like certain points I'm like, shut up. Then I read This Beautiful Ridiculous City, a graphic memoir by 𝙂𝙧 𝙧𝙖. This was really sweet. I feel like the last 25-33% just lost me though. Like the first 75-ish% was really strong, and then it kind of just went nowhere. And I was like, it just fell flat for me, but it was still like a really enjoyable read. I read Paper Doll by Dylan Mulvaney, which I was so excited to receive as an ebook. Really good. I liked it. I just feel like I followed Dylan since she started her journey online, and I could hear her voice as like through what she was writing, and I don't think she's like a, you know, a literature mastermind, but she writes quite well, but also like it was very like LOL and 1,000 exclamation marks, and it's like, if you don't like that kind of writing, you won't like this. But I liked it, and I love that she's sharing her story. Oh my god, we're getting to the really good shit now, guys. Beg, Borrow or Steal by Sarah Adams. Sarah Adams, I'm asking for your hand in marriage, okay? Because that woman can write a romance. Every romance that I've read by Sarah Adams has me in an absolute chokehold. That woman is brilliant. She's insane. I love it. I just think she can do no wrong when it comes to writing a romance. Loved it. It was fucking brilliant. We're back to the bad shit. Give Her Credit by Grace L. Williams. This was really interesting. I love the concept. It's a true story about the untold account of a women's bank that empowered a generation. Never even knew this happened. Never knew this was a thing. It was just too facts. It was too many facts at once. It was just too much, and I just wanted more. I wanted emotion. I wanted backstory. Tell them their story, not just the story of the bank, but them. They're the women who started it. Tell me about them. That just didn't happen. Bring Up a Bad Boy by Catherine Garbera was just so bad. It was just so meh. Again. Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood. So disappointed by this. Like, I was so looking forward to it. Again, I love anything witchy, and this was just so... It got better, kind of, but there was like... It like hinted stuff, like hinted at world building, hinted at romance, and then none of it happened, and you're just like, whatever, I don't care about this. Do you know what I mean? It was just, yeah, it was... I need people to please stop hinting at shit if you're not going to talk about it in the book. I read Being Sick Enough by Jessica Gray, which was... I think the title is misleading. I wanted to read this because I have a chronic illness, and
I've been so ashamed of it.
It was described as being about invisible illness, but it's more a memoir, and only a chunk of it is about invisible illness. And it doesn't even go into depth about invisible illness. It doesn't even say what she has, which, like, she doesn't have to, you know, share that information. But I think when you're writing a book about it, it's, you know, I'm promoting it as an invisible illness book. It's a kind of a tricky one. She also goes into her trauma, and it does at the beginning feel a bit like a massive trauma dump, where big TWs need to be put in place, and that's coming from someone who doesn't get triggered by shit, in terms of, like, I'm very desensitized to topics and stuff, and I was just like, what is going on, and how is this related to invisible illness and just this and that. There were also parts about like addiction, and it was interesting, and there were bits where she'd clearly like done her research and spoke about factual things, and I loved those parts. And then it just went back into kind of like really negative, I don't want to say sob story because I don't think that's the right phrase, but it was just like, this isn't about what we're being told it's about. It's a memoir, and it's a really depressing one at that. And I think when you are ill and you do have chronic illness, like an invisible disability, which I have several, you want to read books like this, but because, like, that's why I clicked on it. I was like, someone who's, you know, gone through the same shit as me, and you want to either, you know, relate, or you want to understand yourself a bit better when you know, when you take away from what you've read and what you take from it. And this was more like, hey, it doesn't get better, bitch. Which is realistic, but it's not even done in like a comforting way. That's why I'm saying it's a memoir. It's really not a book for people who have an invisible illness. If you have an invisible illness and want to read a memoir, fine. Like, you know, if that was how it was portrayed, that's different, but it wasn't. And so I just have a very 50-50 feeling on this. The thing is it was written well, so I don't really have complaints on that end. Yeah, I was very like, I don't know how I feel about this. And I read Lost Love on 6th Street, which, so meh again. Just so meh. But then, to make up for it, I read Book of the Month by Jennifer Probst, and 5 out of 5. Brilliant romance. Perfect level of like wholesomeness and smut, and like it was written well, and the story was cute, but like also not a total cliche. I mean, it still was cliche, but you know what I mean. It had like every trope you could think of, and like, ugh. I think because of the way it was written, I loved it more than I thought I would. And then to almost destroy that, I read Real Love by Evie Browning, and I should have trusted the fucking reviews on this one, because they are bad, and it was bad. There was no depth, heart, thought in this book. It wasn't written well. There were so many errors in this. I just didn't like it. I didn't like it. But finally today, the book that I finished, and well, started today and finished today, was Shy by Design by Michael Thompson. Brilliant book. As someone who isn't even shy, I definitely used to be, which is why I picked it up, because I'm like, maybe I'm still shy. But no, I'm not. But as someone who isn't shy, this book still helped me. Like, I took something away from it and I agreed with everything that he said. I think it was just a brilliant read. It's so helpful. It gives you advice in your career, in relationships, in everything. And it's realistic, but it's also like a positive encouragement. Yeah, it was just the perfect balance. It was written really well. 5 stars, like brilliant book. I'm currently reading Carla, which is really good, and Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport. Also taking forever for some reason for me to read Mina's Matchbox by Yoko Ogawa, which is good so far, so I don't know why it's taken me forever. And also She's Always Hungry by Eliza Clark, which I'm starting tomorrow. I think that's everything. Yeah, I think that's everything. I'm 24 books ahead of schedule according to Goodreads. Listen, January I was depressed. I was struggling. When are humans not struggling? But reading has genuinely helped me when I'm in mental slumps, which is why I'm reading so much at the moment. But anyways, that is the 35 books I read in the last 6 weeks. Have you read any of them? What do you think? Let me know. If you want to read some of them, let me know which ones. I will see you in my next video. Love you. Bye.